most people have been working in Scrum teams for many, many years now, so they know the drill of working in an agile environment. But it's the management layer that now also needs to make that switch. They need to find their best way to proceed. Instead of having less control, I argue you have more control on where you want to go, but it's in a different way. It's about the outcome, the impact, and not about the output. That mind switch is one of the most important things for leaders to understand. Traditional managers, yes, they will tell you, do this, do that, and now go to work on that and that and that. That's not how you can do that in an agile or in a complex environment. Then you have to find other ways. And then you have to foster the environment as a leader. You have to set goals, find a way to cross the river, for instance. Then the team is going to find the best way to achieve that goal. A leader should foster the team to help them to be effective. And if there are any blockers, a leader should help remove the blockers, just like a Scrum Master should do. So in my view, it's almost one-on-one. What a Scrum Master does, and even a leader higher up in the organization should do. Scrum Master is a leadership role. If you look at what a Scrum Master wants to achieve, it's foster the team to grow and to be more and more effective. Of course, using Scrum, but it's very important to help the team to grow, to create the highest value possible. And that's what a true leader also wants to do.
Hi, I'm Maria, and this is the Agile State of Mind. Welcome, and welcome to the Serious Scrum Community interview series, where I interview my colleagues from Serious Scrum Community, and we talk everything Scrum and Agile, and also some personal stuff and personal experiences. Today, I have with me one of the most prolific writers of the community and also the founder of Serious Scrum, Willem-Jan Ageling. Did I say it correctly?
You said it correctly. Good afternoon, Maria. I'm really happy to be here.
Happy to have you. I'm very thrilled because as I just talked to you, I am collaborating in and out with the Serious Scrum, and I never met anyone really, not to say in person, but even on Zoom. So this is also my chance to meet the colleagues I have been collaborating with. Willem-Jan, so you are a senior agile coach in Worldline, and we can see that in your background, and one of the founders of Senior Scrum Community. And I would like to, if you didn't mind, explaining a bit first, what do you do on your day-to-day in the company? And then secondly, also, what is the Serious Scrum Community?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm very happy to be here and to meet you in person indeed. We are very happy with the contributions that you have, and we are always looking fondly to your YouTube channel and the videos that you have right there. So
Thank
it's
you
really
for
great.
that.
So yeah, my name is Willem-Jan Ageling. I'm working in the software industry, payment industry as well already for quite some years. And 8 years ago, I decided to move towards Global Collect, as it was called back then. I was hired as a project manager because Global Collect was working in a traditional way to deliver their products and their projects. And I was the one.
Companies still do that today, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And it was quite strange that it was this way, because already a couple of years before they had an agile transformation, and they even had Jeff Sutherland as one of the people helping them to understand Scrum.
Nice.
So
I think in Holland or in the Netherlands, you are guys in the avant-garde of the world, I would say, when it comes to agile, right? It's
well, let's put it like this. I have many people that I recognize from the agile community that are indeed Dutch. That's indeed what I see. Yeah. But the same with Finnish people and Swedish people. I also think there are quite many of them.
It must be something with the culture, right?
My theory is a bit that we have less, how do you say that, hierarchies within our society. It's more normal for us to just go to someone and tell what's on our minds, and it doesn't matter who it is. Even the prime minister, for instance, the prime minister would find it totally normal if someone would walk up to him and tell him that he's not happy with how the prime minister is doing his business. That's something that he finds very normal. But okay, that's not for everyone, of course. Not everyone likes criticism, but he is also, I think it's a bit part of our culture.
It must be, and it must be also part with the status. There are cultures that it really matters your status. So
Yeah,
you want to
yeah,
be a boss because then you are seen as somebody important and people recognize that, right? So I think
yeah.
it must go
I guess
that
it's
way.
less the case within the Netherlands, but I'm not going
Mm,
to say people don't want to have
interesting.
these kind of careers, of course, but the way they communicate with each other is different within the company.
Mm, interesting. Okay, nice. So you started as like we all did probably as a project management.
Yeah,
That was my start too, and then something changed.
yeah. So like I said, they started using Agile, but then a new owner of the company came and said, "No, we're going to stop that. We're going back to traditional way of working."
Oh,
But it didn't work. All these silo teams that were all pushed by other project managers. Of course, I was not that kind, but all the other ones were, and they basically didn't get their work done. It was impossible because they got pushed around and
mhm.
from one priority to another. So in the end, luckily we had someone somewhat higher up in the organization. And by the way, we again had changed owners who said, no, we really have to embrace Agile. And this time, I think we did it really properly, and we are still reaping the benefits of it. And yeah, I was also given the opportunity to follow a Scrum Master training, and then something clicked with me. So all the years as a project manager, constantly finding it super idiotic that I had to defend myself for things that changed. I thought it's
Right.
logical. We have new ideas, so we have to simply change the plans, and that was always a hassle. And now I heard about Scrum, and it was totally
Mhm,
normal to change your scope. It was expected even. So
mhm,
from that moment on, I was a believer in the agile way of working, and mainly Scrum, of course. I started to read more about it and online try to find everything I could. And then at a certain point, I thought, well, what I read here doesn't make any sense. What they talk
mm,
about, tell about Scrum in these articles, it's not true. So I started to write something about it myself. And
okay.
yeah,
So
I got the
that's the
hang of it.
motivation.
And after a couple of months already, I met Stuart online. He did the same. And then we said, well, we do Stuart Nijland, so we are
Mhm.
doing the same thing basically. Let's start a community called Serious Scrum. So that's how the ball got rolling 5 years ago.
5 years ago already.
So that was how Serious Scrum started.
Mhm,
Meanwhile, I switched careers from project manager to Scrum Master. I coached one, two, sometimes three teams. At a certain point, we got the opportunity, three of us, to become full-time Scrum Masters, but we had to call ourselves Agile Coaches. So we did. And yeah, that grew and grew and grew. And now I'm still Agile Coach, but then not focusing that much anymore on individual teams, but I really try to help leadership to find their way in a complex environment.
okay.
So that's a
Uh,
bit about me and how I grew in the role.
Great, thank you for that. So, yeah, there are a few topics interesting for me here. And one is if we could say a little bit more maybe about the serious Scrum community. What is the community intending to do? It's one of the communities that I think that I know about that has a very vibrant Slack channel where people really share their experiences, and you can, as a person that just starts or wants to improve as a Scrum Master, you can get a lot of ideas, advice, help, mentorship from the other community members, and I found that very impressive. And like I'm really grateful for that, because when I started writing my articles, because whenever I do videos, I also write an article.
Yeah,
And I remember I got a lot of like different perspectives, also help with sometimes even the style of English. English is not our native language, but we all communicate in English, right?
yeah,
So if you could talk a little bit more how that works. I will link in the description below all the how people can find Serious Scrum.
that's super. Thank you very much. So, well, we found a lot of nonsense about Scrum
Mhm.
online. Ridiculous ideas about waterfall versions of Scrum or misconceptions of the Scrum Master. Basically, anything you can imagine about Scrum, people were able to twist around.
Right,
So
all
that's
the
why
anti-patterns were there.
it was really unbelievable what you could and can find. And there was not that much counterbalance to it. Of course, you could go to Scrum.org and to Scrum Alliance, and you could find stuff there. But yeah, we wanted to give people the opportunity to bring some sense to the nonsense that you could find. So yeah, we called it the tsunami of sense. So we would want to allow people that wanted to write about Scrum to write proper articles and publish them under serious Scrum, to also brand them, giving them a sense of that this is correct, this
Mm,
information is sensible, and it's making sense. And we also wanted to be independent, so independent from companies like Scrum.org or Scrum Alliance, who, yeah, of course, they also want to sell Scrum, and
yeah.
we see ourselves as practitioners. Many of us like Scrum very much, but we also want to allow people to have a critical eye, to also maybe point to things that might not make that much sense within the Scrum guide, and also be applauded for the fact that they do that. So that was also a thing that we wanted to do. And lastly, we wanted to bring a place where people could discuss things about Scrum, ask questions. So that's where we had the Slack channel. Also a place of sensible Scrum, so to say. But that was our reason, to be a community for everyone, where you don't have to pay anything to get a good information, or can read great articles, or can write articles, and also get some help with getting a certain quality in the articles. That's what we
Yeah,
found very important, and that has been our mission ever since.
that's great. And especially the fact, because people can just join, right? They can still
Yeah,
join and the community is
yeah,
growing all the time. Yeah, I think that's like so amazing. First of all, that you could be able to do it and people just join. It's not paid, so nobody's getting, it's like volunteers, right? And people get, they just bring what they can and they take also what there is to offer. So this is for me, it's awesome. It's like very agile style of community. I really like the way, for example, the it's like having the PRs, like pull requests for the
yeah,
articles, right? That you
yeah,
need to get approval from, like approval, yeah, somebody needs to review and give you an
yeah,
approval, like in a pull request for the developers, to get your article there. And I think it's just so great that everybody just obeys by the rules, and the rules are created together. And sometimes at work I find that we have less community than on the serious Scrum Slack, you know.
yeah. Yeah, well, we find it important that the qualities are, the articles are of some quality. And of course, if someone is writing many articles and has a lot of experience doing so, for instance, Maarten Dalmijn, of course, we are going to read these articles in a different way than for someone who is new. Because the person that is new, either with Scrum or with writing articles, we want to help that person as well to grow, to learn from writing, and then maybe take the next step in quality writing. That's also how we started. So we also want to give that opportunity to people who are also new to the world of writing and Scrum. We get something back from that, because first of all these combined articles only add to our credibility,
Mhm.
that we are indeed are that independent community where Scrum practitioners can find many things that make sense about Scrum, and also we also learn. We learn from what we read. We learn from helping people to create these articles. So it's also a learning experience for us. So that's also how we see it.
That's great. So yeah, so it's not only about Scrum and Agile, it's also about writing skills and being able to do something, you know, to even change your career if in case somebody wants to do that, right? It's a lot more than just Scrum in the end.
Yeah, if you look at it, yeah,
Hmm.
I know for Maarten Dalmijn that he was able to find different career path because of his writing about, and his he has many followers, of course, and that helps him to find other ways to do something with his passion. And the same with Sjoerd Nijland.
Okay.
He wrote many articles about what is Scrum all about, and really deep diving into the Scrum guide. And he is now building a Road to Mastery, and it's also a training program where people can go on a journey to really get the nitty-gritty details of what it means to be a Scrum Master. So it's far more than only that PSM1 paper. So yeah, indeed, you see really that people have an opportunity to grow their careers also by helping out in this community. So that's also what it brings us. It also brought something for me, because I'm also super happy with the audience that I have with my articles. Of course, I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, I saw that you have more than 10,000 followers on Medium already. And where can we find you now? Where can we find the articles?
Yeah.
Because just to tell everyone, your articles are you are very prolific writer. You write a lot, and that's something I always admire. I'm like, where do you get your inspiration?
Yeah.
And you also have very different articles, right? You can get like to the very like philosophical almost, sometimes about Scrum and Agile, sometimes about you analyze very well something that people feel it's not even written in Scrum Guide, and then you will find that it is. And and they are really also helping from like day-to-day practitioner that works with teams, and you share also your experience.
It's a wide range of topics indeed. Yeah, and it's also uh, beyond Scrum these days. Yeah, it's everything that I learn on a daily basis in the company, for instance. Often I come across situations that I think, well, these are interesting to write about. Things that I learned, things that I'm frustrated about. Also, it helps me to get it out of my system. And also, things that I learn while communicating on LinkedIn or things like that. And I have been using Medium for that a lot. I used to be very happy with Medium because it helps me grow my audience. But the last couple of months or last year, I noticed that while I get more and more people following me, somehow my articles don't reach the followers. So I
Okay.
have extreme examples. So you said I have 10,000 followers on Medium. I sometimes have articles that are only read by 100.
Really?
And I really think,
Wow.
well, how can that be? How can there be such a divide between these many followers and only 100 people reading my article? So then I started to look around, and again, Maarten Dalmijn hinted me at maybe looking at Substack. And this is what I did. So only a month ago, I opened a publication there, and it grew to 1,000 now, a bit more than 1,000. And
In a
what
month.
happens there is, yeah, and what happens there is that you immediately email your followers, your subscribers. So the same article that only got 100 views in Medium, with at that point 800 followers, I got 1,000 people reading my article there. So
Wow, that's
that's
such a
for
big
me,
difference.
yeah, that's for me an obvious difference, and also an obvious reason why I think at this moment Substack is it's more logical to go there than continue with Medium. Having said that, I still have my followers on Medium, so everything I post on no, not everything. Every weekly article I post on Substack, I will also post on Medium, but I will not use that link of Medium anymore in when I spread it on a LinkedIn or other platforms. That will be my Substack account instead.
Okay. Well, I also started in Substack just because I thought, well, if all those people, my colleagues from Serious Scrum are moving over, why don't I move over? So yeah, I think I have one article, but I also saw that people start subscribing. I don't know out of where they come, but I think they have much better algorithm,
Yeah,
definitely.
but what helps there is that you get recommendations from other publications, for instance, from
True.
Pavel Hurin or from Martin or from others who already have a following. And then those people think, okay, if Pavel or Martin says, well, have to go check out Maria, all of a sudden you have 100 subscribers out of nowhere. That happens at
Okay.
Substack.
All right, yeah. So
So
I will link also your how to get to you, and so people can subscribe on Substack. So now Serious Scrum moved over to Substack, we can say.
Well, Serious Scrum is still also a medium, but we apart from that, we also started a publication on Substack, because if writers from Serious Scrum publish there, we are able to cross-post their articles.
Okay.
So we can help them reach even more people. So that's the whole idea. So we are not on Substack alone. We are also still on Medium, because Medium remains a big platform. Perhaps they are going to change their ways, and maybe they are going to improve.
That's also, I think, a very good topic for people who are Scrum Masters or Agile coaches, because as we spoke a little bit before we went on the record, it's sometimes very confusing for Scrum Masters what will be their career path. Right, we start and we learn, and it's very like we are happy. It's rewarding at the beginning. We are learning new things. We see that we help teams that struggle, and it's not only because the end in the end is not agile. The end is that people are happier working, they deliver better results, the
Yeah.
more value, right? Because today the idea was that we talk about the agile leadership, and
Yeah.
also, and I thought, well, it's also about the career in the end of the likes of us. What do we do? Because I know a lot of people who tell me, you know what, I am now a Scrum Master for so many years, and I see all those developers getting to be leaders, engineering managers,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
some other leaders. There's a career path. They know that if they get better, they will get to be more important in the company, have more impact, and also get more money. And what about us? Where is the career path?
Yeah.
So one of the things I think is great that if you start writing, you can also change a bit your trajectory. And how it was for you, because since you have been working for so many years for the company that evolved and changed, how do you see that we can help ourselves? Maybe that's the question.
Yes. Well, isn't it interesting that if engineers are very good at their job, that they often get promoted to a manager role or a leadership role? What is leadership about being a good engineer? Maybe helping your other engineers to improve, but
Mm-hmm.
there's more leadership within a Scrum Master. A Scrum Master is a leadership role. If there's one person who can practice and get better at leadership while being in that position, it's the Scrum Master, I would say.
Sometimes it's even like a trap for engineers. You have to become a manager or you stay forever as a developer, because there's no
Yeah.
path for the now. I think companies change and they put this individual contributor path and
Yes.
the leadership path. So you have a
Yeah.
choice, and you might not be a leader. You don't want to lead people. You don't want to go to all those meetings. You want to code, right? So that's also something that is being changed. But that's true that Scrum Master is like a leader from the
So they should
beginning.
be in that leadership path, in my view.
Mm-hmm.
They are the better equipped. If they do well as a Scrum Master, they are better equipped to go into that growth path than
That's true.
a
I
developer
know.
who really likes to do that and wants to be technically skilled even
Yeah.
better.
That's true. And that reminds me about, I sometimes talk to some developers, and when they started to be leaders, and they tell me things about their work. Oh, this meeting. Oh, this person. And I'm thinking, I was so passionate, like talking the same things when I started as a Scrum Master, because I
Yeah.
had all those meetings dealing with all these people, and all that things that they share with me after like 6 years of trying to get to a leadership role, I was doing as a junior Scrum Master, you can say.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, I was struck, like, ah, so that's the same job in the end.
In my view, it is. If you look at what a Scrum Master wants to achieve, it's foster the team to grow and to be more and more effective. Of course, using Scrum, but it's very important to help the team to grow to create the highest value possible. And that's what a true leader also wants to do, to foster the environment, especially an agile leader. Traditional managers, yes, they will tell you do this, do that, and now go to work on that and that and that. That's
Mm-hmm.
not how you can do that in an agile or in a complex environment. Then you have to find other ways, and like for instance, agile Scrum, and then you have to foster the environment as a leader. You have to set goals. We want to cross the bridge, for instance, find a way to cross the river. Then the team is going to find the best way to achieve that goal. A leader should foster the team to help them to be effective. And if there are any blockers, a leader should help remove the blockers, just like a Scrum Master should do. So in my view, it's almost one-on-one what a
That's
Scrum Master
true.
does and even a leader higher up in the organizations you do.
So I have two questions here. So first one is, people stay in this mindset that if you want to be an engineering leader, you need to know about engineering. You need to know about, if you want to be a product leader, you need to know about product. And they are like, you know nothing. You can't be a leader. We don't have, it's like, I feel sometimes there's this kind of wall that if you are not a technical person in, we work in software companies in the end, then it's very hard to get to that point. How do you see this argument of, you haven't been a developer, you don't know?
Of course, there are many Scrum Masters that don't have a technical background or have no product background. But
Yeah.
I also know many Scrum Masters that do have that. Regardless, if I look at what I did, I do have a technical background. Long ago, I won't tell how long ago. No, in the 90s, I was a programmer,
Okay.
and at a certain point, I grew to be a project manager. But I wasn't a programmer or analyst or any technical. I didn't have a technical role for 20 years or even more. I haven't had that for 20 years. So you can't say that I have a technical
Mhm.
background anymore. That doesn't make any sense. And if I look at how I need to help the people in the team and also the leaders that need to foster their teams and also the managers of those managers and the managers of those managers, we are not talking about technical things. We are talking about what do we want to achieve with the company and
Mhm.
how can we best do this? What is the best way for us to work in this complex world, in this VUCA world? How can we resolve these issues? And that's exactly what you also do as a Scrum Master. Find the best ways forward together with your team to create experiments, and that's also what you need to do at higher level. So I don't see,
Okay.
of course, it makes sense to understand what kind of business you are working in, and to also have a broad idea of
Mhm.
okay, these are the processes, and I'm sure that anyone who is working with a company for a couple of years has that. They will build that, and that of course that is required. You need to be able to understand what you're talking about, but you don't have to build software. You also don't have to build the best products. You have product people for that, and
Yeah, true.
it's really great to have product people for that. But you also need people to help be effective in collaborating and in finding better ways to create a framework to work in.
So, how would you say, what's the difference between a manager that we understand traditionally and an agile leader? Because for me, the paradox here a bit is that we think about agile, and we spoke about that when we talked about the Netherlands, that we don't need so much hierarchy. But then we talk about leaders. So
Yeah,
don't want so much hierarchy, but there are leaders, but
yeah.
then we are not the leaders that there used to be. How do you think about that?
To put it very bluntly, a manager holds the hand of the people she or he is
Ah.
managing. So and showing the way, telling well we have to do this, we have to build that. Really telling what needs to be done by when and almost even how. That's how we see a manager. And the agile leader is a person who says we want to achieve this and this and this. For instance, we want to achieve that we cross this river or that we build this product that is 20% faster
Mhm.
and 50% cheaper, for instance. And then it leaves it to the team to find the best way to build that product and helps the team to create an environment where they can flourish. Because a manager works best in an environment that is predictable. Where you know if I
Mhm.
do this, then 5 years from now that will happen. This is not the situation in the world that we live in. So I argue that virtually every company is working in a complex environment. You don't know what will happen 3 months from now, let alone a year. There can be
Yeah.
a new technology that is going to disrupt the complete market. I'm thinking Chat GPT, for
I
instance.
was thinking about that already too. Yeah.
So
It's
if you
so hard to
if you had
predict.
something that is impacted by that, then you have to throw all your plans overboard because there's a new way now. But if you say, well, we want to achieve something and a new technology can help, then in an agile way of working, you would
Mm.
immediately say, well, this is the new opportunity. Let's jump on that. And this is something that you should leave to the teams, because if you leave it to the to management, then it takes far too long to make these decisions. Then maybe something else comes along in a year from now, and you are working on then already outdated technology. That's how
True.
fast it goes these days. So an
Yeah.
agile leader should really say, well, I
Mhm.
don't mind how you do it, as long as you are doing it, of course, in the
In the
way
right
the company
direction.
wants you to do, but I want you to go in that direction.
When I think about it, it's more like the management 1.0, right? When we had
Yeah,
this boss that told you what to
yeah,
do. And that used to be, for example, very true for the car industry, that you just had the same cars, like thousands,
yeah,
millions of the same car. So they are all the same, you know, you can predict. And
yeah,
now, even when you think about cars, that's not true anymore. Like the industry is going so fast. You have Tesla, but then you have also others, you have the electric car and so on. It's just so full of technology that nothing is so mechanical anymore, right? And so
indeed.
predictable. So, but I think it's very hard for people to let go of this control,
Yes.
right? And I spoke with Pavel Hurin, who is a product manager, and we were saying about that people just need this control, and it's so hard to tell, like, yeah, you will just tell me how to do it, like I will not tell you, I don't have
Yeah,
any power over how, I only can tell you like where do we want to go. It's a big change in the mindset.
it is.
Do you have any advice on when you work in a company with leadership people that think they are important, and then you need to help them change this mindset and like
Yeah,
let go a bit of this control that they used to having because they feel secure, but of course it creates a lot of problems in the future.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
what would you
this is
say?
really, well, I have all kinds of thoughts on my mind, but I wanted to start with acknowledging that in our company as well, people see that we need to that they need to make a change, that they need to find other ways to help their teams. But they always used to be the ones leading the team, telling the team this is the best way to go.
Mm.
And then of course, it's difficult for teams to make that switch, but most people have been working in Scrum teams for many years now, so they know the drill of working in an agile environment. But it's the management layer that now also needs to make that switch. They need to find their best way to proceed, and it's not about letting go. It's about finding other ways to help the team to stay on track. So
Mm.
instead of saying, well, by this date you have to have finished these items, you might have a goal that says by this date we want to have achieved 10% growth in Finland, for instance. And
Mhm.
you're going to, and this is why you have the iterations. Every iteration, every sprint, you're going to check: am I going in the right direction? Am I really going in the direction of having that 10% growth? So a leader that is at the sprint review can have these discussions every iteration again. Okay, so what did this new product increment bring us closer to that goal that we have? So there's
Mm.
plenty of control to be achieved to ensure that you do. It's not about how you get there, but that you show that you make progress to get there.
And that's interesting. You recently wrote an article, do you waste your sprint review, right?
Yeah,
And I think that's one of I totally agree. That's one of the most wasteful meetings that we waste, and that could provide so much outcome and great outcome for leadership, right?
yes, as I see it, indeed. And
Exactly.
I'm not the
What you
only
just
one,
said.
because the creators of Scrum, they had it always had this in mind, that the sprint review is the moment that you're going to check how am I doing towards achieving my goals by taking these baby steps. So
Yeah.
instead of having less control, I argue you have more control on
Mhm.
where you want to go. But it's in a different way. It's about the outcome, the impact, and not about the output. Of course, output is important,
Mhm.
but it needs to establish a certain outcome. Otherwise, it makes no sense. That mind switch
Yeah.
is one of the most important things for leaders to understand.
And
They should
put this
focus on
way,
outcome and not on
like,
output too
yeah,
much.
for me, especially recently, it's just all about outcomes versus output and like how bad are the output. And I'm like, I think people are like fed up with this, But when you say what you just said, like when you say you still have control, it's not about letting go of control. You still have control. You just need to switch your mindset to find it in a different way, right? And
Yeah.
then it's like, then you can talk about output and outcome. And then people they don't block, like, oh, again, you will talk to me about this outcome. I don't care. I want control. I want to
Yeah.
know what's going on.
I think the best way to do that is not by insisting on you have to deliver this by then, because suppose that you have a 2-year project and everything is delivered according to plan. Who is going to guarantee me that we will have the results that we wanted to have, that the client indeed buys the product?
Exactly. They still
Because the
want
world has
it.
changed.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a very nice way to put it. Thank you.
And for us, I'm with 4 different colleagues, so that's why I say us. We all do everything together as a team. It's always important to bring forward the Cynefin framework. With you have a clear environments, you have complicated environments, complex environments, and chaotic environments. People think they are in a complicated environment where you can do an analysis, and based upon what you analyze, you can find the best answer and then plan towards your output. But that's not how it works. If things are complex and you don't know what will happen, you have to take baby steps and constantly experiment. Am I going into the right direction? I've done this exercise many times with I think now more than 200 leaders in the company. Without exception, people understand.
Wow.
And if they understand that, then they also understand, okay, a traditional way is nice, but it won't help us further. We have to find different ways.
Yeah, I really
I,
like that framework. I think this is one of the most eye-opening things that help people understand why actually something needs to be done in a certain way, right? Because
yeah,
before you get to that, it's really hard for people to understand the why. Like, but why can't you just tell me? Just tell me when. Just tell me what will you have by what
yeah.
date, and I will be happy.
And it's not about having happy people in happy teams, self-managing teams. That's of course important, but it's important because you need that. Otherwise, you can't have the creativity to find the best way forward.
Our time is up, and that was very interesting. Thank you so much for your insights. I think one of the biggest values of working with you and the serious Scrum community is that it's full of people who actually do work every day with Scrum and with Agile. And the knowledge is not just theoretical, like, oh yeah, we just talk, oh, should we call it a demo or a sprint review? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Like, it's, yeah, great. I'm happy for you, but I have real problems, real people that
yeah,
I struggle with. And sometimes it's so hard to convey the message if you only talk about, and people just hate it when you start like, what do I care if it's called this or that? That's why,
indeed. That's not the issue.
exactly. There was a time that I had like big discussions on why it shouldn't be a demo. And now I'm like, if you want to call it demo, call it whatever. But let's write down what we expect from people, was the expected outcome of the meeting. Call it whatever. We have
Yeah,
a
but also discuss what you want to achieve in for the next sprint and maybe even after that next sprint. Then call it
exactly.
what you want.
Exactly. It's not a problem. So I think that's a great value that we can get from you and the rest of the community. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
I really loved the conversation, and I feel so much more agile today thanks to the conversation.
Well, I'm very happy that we had this conversation, and it was really nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.